Permies, and there's no introduction tonight. Well, same room. We're on
True.
Puddin's couch. So I don't think Puddin's joining us.
Puddin's not on the couch.
No, she's on her bed. But so if you're seeing this part, you're watching the after the show.
We probably should get like my laptop or something so we can type comments. I guess.
Well, it'll come across the screen to read.
That's
It'll
true.
be on the left. It'll come across the screen. But we should have some people here. No, I'm going to have to get closer to the screen. It says, hi, everyone. That's Curie. And yeah, you might have to get your laptop. Sorry about this. We're doing this live from our cell phone because our internet connection is not working today.
So I can have an intermittent connection on my laptop and probably still get most of the comments, whereas
maybe if you can
versus trying to run a camera. So
we'll have to see if that works, guys. Sorry about this. Our internet connection is bouncing in and out so bad today that we could hardly get anything on my computer at all. We'll try to see if he can get the comments up on his computer. Otherwise, he might have to pull it up on his cell phone. So he'll be back in a moment. But we're going to wing it tonight. We wanted to do it tonight anyway because we're not going to be here next week, are we?
No, we're not here.
We're not here next week. So I don't have any pictures. And at the moment, the other way you can do it is on your cell phone tonight. So I don't think you're going to get connected.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll try.
I've got emails blowing in like crazy.
I know. We get these like bursts of internet connection and then it goes away. So I'm not sure. And hi, Tina. And who else is here? I have to look closer at the phone. Sorry, I'm going to have to look at your mom's here. I'm going to have to look at that closer.
We just got to talk to her. I talked to Dad until a few minutes ago. I guess he's out of town and we need to talk to you about your arrival and departure plans in a couple of weeks. So but we can do that at some other point.
Yeah, we could do that. It might be next week. I think it's next weekend is the last weekend of the month.
Yeah, I don't actually. That's a good question. Are you coming next week or are you coming
the week after?
The week of the butcher week.
I think that was
No, there's one more week. It's 5. There's 5 Saturdays in February this year.
Is there?
Yeah,
no,
I think it's in 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. So there's no more Sundays left.
Correct. Yes, it's very rare. 5 Saturday.
Well, we
February.
were originally going to do the butcher the end of this month.
Yeah, the 29th.
Yeah, which is next weekend.
No. Wait.
Yes.
No, we've got the.
Today is the 16th.
So we have the 22nd.
Oh, we have the 22nd. Oh, right. Okay. Never mind.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Almost certain.
Anyway, sorry guys. We're had 2. Bless you.
We're not doing the butcher work weekend yet, though.
No, we still got to do a better butcher weekend.
I'm so busy, I can't do the final planning, and when we do things, we like to do them correctly. So
yeah,
we're gonna hold off. Hopefully March. We think we're still gonna get it in before May when my markets get crazy. We're really gonna try hard because I want to do it.
Yeah, because even April is probably going to be looking a little busy, but
we might do early April. We might do 2 of them.
We'll have to see. Hopefully, that would
we'd
be
like
nice.
to do 2. I'd like to have a primary and an alternate date, or do both of them.
Why don't you explain what our idea is for anybody who's new in the room about the butchery weekend that we're talking about? This is not butchering a live pig like the Rhodes did.
No, this is breakfast cookery. We're going to do breakfast meats as the theme. So it's going to be a 1-day class. It's going to be intensive, like probably a 10-hour day. Yeah. Start to finish, so like 7 or 8 a.m. until 5-ish. We're going to probably break down either a half or a whole hog. Show how to do the basic butchery, but we'll go through it pretty fast. And then we'll bring in some additional...
multitask.
Yeah. We'll bring in additional cuts so that we can perform making bacon, making breakfast sausage, making bulk, doing links, doing like some sage or spice sausages, doing probably make some souse or scrapple, maybe scrapple. I'm thinking, and we'll do some Canadian or English bacon, which is loin, a whole muscle bacon, and what else? We may make thinking about doing some black and white puddings. And then we're going to put that all together. We're going to finish it all. So I got to program it so we can finish it in a timely way.
With a meal.
We're going to provide snacks and lunch, soup and soup and fresh bread lunch, and then we're going to do a finishing meal, hopefully right around like 5 or so, whenever we conclude, and we're going to do a big traditional farmhouse like Irish breakfast with all the other sides. Of course, some of this stuff isn't done because things like bacon take a week to cure, so we'll set the cure and send people can also buy in to get a portion that take the class can pre-purchase a portion and bring back a bunch of it with them. So you not only get to do it, you actually get it, which is the only way it makes sense for most people. Although you can participate with a lesser or no take-home portion. I don't need 500 pounds of breakfast here. We could use a bunch, but we're not that big of a family. So the idea then is that you can actually take home stuff either finished in a cooler or in process, where you'll have the directions to finish the cure over the next 7 days or so, and then some things have to be smoked, so you either have to pan smoke them. If you don't have a smoker, you can actually oven cook a lot of that stuff. It still comes out nice. But yeah, we're gonna teach that as a moderate to advanced level, like strongly interested, capable in the kitchen, semi-professional level, but designed for the home cook or homestead. And because it seems like breakfast and pork grinding cuts is sort of the biggest favorite out of everything. We can do a whole combined activity. So yeah, and that's going to be hosted in my shop. It's going to be limited. I'm 6 to 10 people, and I think we're going to probably keep it under 10. We really want it hands-on and personal. I'm going to have an assistant who's another chef help. So it's going to be a really having a good busy day together and doing the real deal. And
and we have a number of people in the room. Yeah. And we can't see the comments from where we're looking.
I'm going to pull the comments up, yeah. Now that I'm done talking,
he's going to go look up.
I'm going to go find my eBay app. I mean eBay, my YouTube.
YouTube app.
We're buying stuff too, yeah. No, I am going to find my YouTube app, which
You've been selling things.
I did sell.
You sold a meat saw.
I sold a meat saw that I had acquired as part of a package. I really wanted to keep it, but I have no need for it. And that's part of a butcher class explaining what type of equipment to invest in and which type of equipment is probably not useful. And a butcher saw, unless you're really cutting all the time because of the cleanup and also the danger in using it properly, you need to think about it.
Don't cut fingers off with that thing.
I'm pretty comfortable with it, but you do pay attention. That's it will get you. So I had a really, really nice meat saw that I would love to keep, but I had no good reason to, and I sent it off to a new home that really badly wanted it. So
got that sent out this weekend. It's been a busy weekend too.
Yeah.
Yesterday we were out. We did not do farmers market yesterday in town. We had yes, you better turn the sound down. We're gonna get echo. You have a commercial going. Yesterday
I'm gonna thumb up the commercial. How about that?
They used to have options for that on some of them. No, last night we were at a big wine festival in town in Kalamazoo. So that was very busy and a lot of fun, and had a lot of people who I think learned of our new, our pasta business last night, which was good. It was good exposure, I think.
We've done this event 3 times. It's been 3 different locations. It's a community. February's slow for most businesses.
Apparently not anymore.
For me, every February has been a retool. So we're doing projects, and and I'm always charging ahead on things I can't get done during the summer. Plus, we've done these 2 special dinners. I have a small catering I usually do in February. And my restaurant stayed relatively busy, even though they're slow. Cool weather does good for. So we end up. Part of what happens is people take a break after Christmas and business sometime, or in December they're getting ready for the holidays, or in July or August they're on vacation. We use those times to kind of push forward and excel the business when everybody else is maybe taking a break, so that when everybody comes back, we're ready for the next round or the new rollout. And so February has become one of those, take a breath. We're not doing a lot of markets, but get things in order to take a leap forward in the spring.
So I just want to say hi to everyone now that I can see the comments on Mike's phone right in front of me. I'm not farsighted. Sorry, guys. Kiri's in the room. Funky Farm is in the room. I think that might be new.
Yeah, might be new.
New to us anyway.
Yep.
Linda Taylor is back. Hello, hello.
Wolf's Head Forge.
Tina.
Have they been here before?
Wolf's Head Forge and Farm. I have not noticed before, so I think you might be new unless you haven't chatted before. Your mom's in the room. Yes, Bella's being cute and cuddly. And 13 Moons is in here. Let's see here. I'm trying to see. White Picket Fence is in here. I'm just scrolling through all the old comments right now. Everybody entering in and such. So, Amy Lynn Casper, hello, hello. Did I say 13 Moons? I think I said 13 Moons.
Yep, you did.
And Green Gables and Delia Cortez is here.
Good.
Awesome. Lots of people in the room. And your mom's leaves. There's your dates.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. The right size. Green Live's 5 hours away. Okay. Yeah. So I think Bella's growing. She has a doctor's appointment in a couple weeks, so we'll figure out exactly her size soon. And then okay, bigger on the main screen than your granddaughter. Okay. Anyway, so if you guys have questions as we go,
Yeah,
I will.
We don't have our slide.
We
don't have our slide deck of pictures that we've got ready. I guess.
No intro today. No.
They're part of OBS. So.
Pictures. Yeah. That's part of the computer program. So those guys who didn't notice, I did say live from our cell phone for a reason tonight. It's because we're doing this over our, I guess, data minutes rather than our internet at the moment.
Hi, Lisa. Lisa Hoffman.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, cool.
Welcome.
All right, so what do you got going on this week?
So, no, actually just updates from this week happen to be more, well, we've had
We had frozen eggs this week.
We did have frozen eggs. We got cold.
Got down to like 3 degrees for a day or two. So two days were in the teens.
And we're back above 30
we're
yesterday or around freezing again. It's been, should I even say it yet? That so far it's actually been a mild
We've had our
winter.
moments, but the temps have not been excessively cold for the most part, and snow accumulation has been very moderate.
Of course, we'll get it now.
I was reading, this is an interesting thing I was learning, a local MLive, which does a lot of the news and papers in our area are consolidated.
Yeah.
They were talking about the polar vortex is very, very strong this year. And sometimes it's strong and sometimes it's not. So it basically has a stronger swirl or pull in towards the Arctic, which means it actually, that sounds bad,
but it makes it more
but
mild.
it actually pulls the cold air and restricts it up higher above the Arctic. When it starts to slow and weaken, it will send off chunks of cold air, which comes sweeping down through Canada and hit us. And that's where we can get more blasts of cold air and more heavy snow because of it. So they're saying for the next 2 weeks, it looks like everything will likely stay tight upstairs and mild. And that shortly after that, you get polar warming heading into spring, and that either it will break up and start shedding off energy, or the heating will just kind of dissipate it. So, if we cross our fingers and it does everything right, we could be coming out of hard winter early, and we may kind of just peter out, and we'll have to watch the next month. But the current weather is looking strongly to be mild, so
we'll see where that goes. Yeah.
I've only plowed about 5 times, and I don't think have we gotten more than 5 inches of snow?
No, not at all.
At any one, and 3 or 4.
We had one deeper snow.
Yeah, one that was maybe 4 or 5 inches.
No, I think
over
we had
2 days we had maybe 7 inches.
I think we had like 7 or 8 over a couple days.
Where I plowed a couple of times, and that's it for the whole season.
That was like in December or something.
No, the water table is super high. We have gotten enough. We've gotten a lot of rain. Yeah. We have gotten enough rain in the last 4 months. They said to
be a year's worth.
We are at historic heights on Lake Michigan. Going back to 1986, we've exceeded that. I think we were up 17 inches over last year, which was up over the year before and the year before that. So things are not draining back quickly, and they said that the rivers and everything are just dumping tremendous amounts of water into Lake Michigan. It's all on a cycle. I mean, we saw this. I remember as a young kid, my grandparents lived on lakes, and the lakes were really high in the mid 80s. I do remember that, and they went super super low. So we're back up to a very high cycle. But that affects us being what 30 miles, 40 miles from the lake. It's sand dunes, and so we still have a high water table, and it does cause a slower drainage. Through some of the farm fields are a little wet, but we'll see what spring comes. So we don't actually need a tremendous amount of snow this year.
Oh, and we'll stop talking weather, people. But no, it'll be interesting though, because last year was such a bad year. So we'll see.
Got a lot of rain last year.
Yeah, part of the reason why we started high on the water tables.
But it doesn't affect us greatly because we're not. I mean, we have a nice garden, but we have a lot of commercial agriculture around here. We're not farmers, so
yeah.
In the end, it's not the end of the world. I like to have decent Saturdays because farmers markets are affected by really bad weather.
So yeah, okay. White picket fence. Yeah, no, she's not a binky person really. She likes the elephant that's attached to it. Curie says that they got an inch of rain on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and of course that's when they kitted a tank. So a goat kitted a tank. I don't think you want that, do you? So yeah, no, we've had a lot of rain, been super wet around here, but modest amount of snow, which I don't mind at the moment. So, and we haven't again, should I say this soon? Last year and a couple years before that, we were down into like negative 15 in December,
but
January.
We've also had, a lot of times we get March snow dumps or even early April.
Oh, we get into April.
And then we can, so even if we come out of a hard winter, we have to figure out if we're going to ease into gardening in and around the beginning of May is really our beginning for warmish stuff. We actually have to go to midway May for some of our warmer planting. So just because things even out here doesn't mean they don't get crazy before we get into middle May.
Yeah. Yeah. So our last frost is like May 15th or something like that.
Could be up to the middle of May.
Yeah. So what I have been doing project-wise is I've been finally working on looking at the seeds that we have left over. You know what I noticed on the seed packages? Most are from 2016 so far that I've looked at. Yeah. We didn't buy any last year.
We had so many, seeds. We're like, we don't need to. Let's just use what we have. We bought a very few things.
Yeah. So we are going to have to replenish a few things this year. We will use our old seeds, the germinations on them. Yeah, they go down over time, but they haven't been bad.
Especially if we're doing tray starts, you can always just discard and reuse that soil and start something else.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so we can, So we're going to be purchasing seeds as soon as I finish going through the boxes of current seeds. I've gone through almost all of them. I just have one like shoebox size left.
I'm going to go buy seeds tomorrow.
You're going to buy seeds tomorrow for what?
The feed store.
Oh, chicken. For the chickens.
Sponsored by the chickens.
Yeah, oh boy. Bella's toy. It's supposed to be a silky from, doesn't quite have the right comb or wattles, but it's fuzzy like a silky. Anyway, so I'm trying to pull up.
They're our sponsor today.
Yeah, the Silkies are sponsoring.
Not a giveaway though. They're Bella's. They're a gift to Bella, so they just hang out on the table right now.
Oh, Carrie says the kid weighs 10 pounds.
Wow.
Bigger than the twins born 1 week earlier. Always when the white picket fence was responding to Carrie on, it's always when the weather gets bad. Yes.
Full moons and bad weather. I'm next to a goat farmer, goat cheese at the market currently. For the summer market, I've been next to another goat farmer that makes a nice goat pudding. Yeah. And they all agree that the bad weather and the full moons and everything, they totally are dropping goats all the time. Yeah. So
we used to joke when I worked in prenatal that the labor and delivery unit will be full whenever there's a full moon. Someone's a little chit-chatty.
Well, there is some suggestion of that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it has a little bit more of a gravitational pull on those days. There's evidence that that the plants germinate with the moon cycles. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and it has more to do with. Sorry, guys. screaming baby. Here we go. It has more to do with the pull on the water in the plants, when it's pulling the water up and when it's letting the water go, whether you're developing roots or whether you're developing shoots. So all the timing on all of that. So yeah, no, actually there was a book. It was the John Jevons book that goes into
the scientific basis of water
There's
movement. Gravitational, but mostly water movement and how that affects germinating. So you can take fast germinating, kind of average germinating, or long germinating seeds, and you can time them backwards so that you can speed their cycle up. So you can slow a germinating cycle by like 15 days, where it'll stagnate. And so if you start your seeds and have the opportunity time-wise to do that, you can you can kickstart them right away, or they end up stagnating, which is generally not great because they're more likely to rot or mold or get eaten or just hang out when you want them to be growing and trying to move into the season. So we don't always have the time to do that, but if you can look at your germinating time, which is always on your seed packet, you can time your starts. It also is really good for transplanting as far as bringing water to the surface to get nutrients to your, and a lot of times you get heavy rain, fishermen and other people know that fishing can be good right around the full moon, leading into the full moon, changes tides, changes water levels, get storms, which get the fish excited. So he likes.
Can we say we have a jealous cat here who wants to be on a lap with a baby?
So yeah, but you can do your transplants to help them set in and then help them develop root growth based upon moon cycles. The other thing we found out that was interesting, your average tree and actually, your perennials don't put a lot of roots in the first year they're put in the soil. They're just kind of hanging out and trying to exist. During the winter, they drop all their leaves and they suck down their sap and they seem like they're stagnating and not really doing anything. And then what I read something about root growth tends to double during the winter. So while they're not looking like they're doing anything, they're actually building their root systems and taking in nutrients and minerals. And then they're getting ready to then do their new growth. So winter's a really important time for especially your trees to stabilize.
Yep. And we need some more bushes and trees, but we did put a few in last year, so we'll hopefully have with a mild winter. I think most should survive
we had a hard summer of some heat and a lot of wet. So if they made it through that and they make it through the winter, now they didn't really grow for the most part. The hope is that they will now have set in and start. They only have to go about 8 to 10 feet to get a good water. They can get almost constant water source through the sand. Some fruit trees. So if they set in, it'll be hopefully a high growth year, and we'll feel like we've got a chance at them going for the long term. Got some cherries and some peaches among some nut trees.
Yeah. And who was that? 13 Moons was just. No, the chat's not coming up on the phone.
You gotta hit the button.
No, it's buffering. Was saying that they had elderberry bushes, or they wanted elderberry bushes. We actually have a couple, and I did not put the burp rag over my
13
shoulder.
Moon says I need to get elderberries. Elderberries shoots take off really well. Those are the ones that you just cut them and put them in water, and they will self-root with.
Absolutely, take some science of it.
No stimulation, and then you can get them into soil or direct plant, even possibly.
Yep. And look who is holding her own weight. For the most part, no balance. Only 4 months old.
The Mindful Homestead is here.
Hello.
We're on our
Helix
cell
phone
phone tonight because the internet connection's so bad. We're actually
using
running
Verizon.
the phone to make it run a little smoother.
Yes.
What did you do to your arm?
What did I do to my arm? I didn't do anything to my arm. Apparently, holding a baby all the time can give tendinitis. So I have tendinitis in my left thumb, and called the quer veins, and it's just been annoying me. So the brace helps stabilize it and actually makes it flare up less. So I've just been wearing that, especially when holding this one. And going back to this darn jealous cat, the cat likes Bella, but wants to be on the lap at the same time. Don't know exactly what to do about that one. So we almost have, actually Puddin' I thought was going to come around and say hi to us too, because she is behind the camera on her bed right now. So that would have been funny. But anyway, so seeds. What other bushes and trees do you guys have in your gardens and your food forests and the things you're developing? We have chestnuts, hickory nuts. No, chestnuts, hazelnuts.
We don't have hickory.
No.
Hickory, a lot of times people don't think. Many people think they're not edible or not good tasting. A lot of people think they're really good tasting, so it's
like
it's debatable. But
preference.
Yeah,
Some
well,
people love acorns.
I think they're probably better than acorns, but yeah, I would say the pecans and the hazelnuts and the walnuts. I definitely have a preference. So we have only so much space. I'd rather focus on having a little bit of those.
We get lots of acorns.
Although hickory's not bad, and hickory has nice wood if for the long term. If you're looking for smoking, cooking and smoking, or if you're looking for some good looking grain wood, but that's a long term project for if you're growing to cut it down.
Yeah. So I lost the chat on here. I'm pulling it back open. It wasn't going. No, not that way. So I'm just trying to pull it open. I'm not sure why it's not showing now. Anyway, what other things do we have? You go ahead and go through that, and I'll see if I pull it. Our bushes and our nuts and fruits and all that.
Well, you put the Nat King cherries, which are our bush cherry, out. We've got about 6 or 8 of those, so hopefully they yield this year. We have something to go in the ground this year, the beach plums. You have the beach plums, which went through the terribly tough winter last year in pots on the back porch, which probably was not the best since they were exposed. It killed a couple of them, but... No,
I only had 3, and I think all 3 are still alive. Maybe one's dead.
One's definitely dead. One's doing pretty okay, and the other one's hanging in there.
I think the 2 we brought inside have leaves. But they shouldn't have leaves this time of the year. They should be dormant. The one that was outside, I think, might be dormant. But we'll see if it's dead or dormant.
I didn't see any leaves all summer. I'm almost certain I took the 2 that looked like they were okay. Yeah. So they went through a really tough winter last year. They were not real well cared for this summer, and we kept them in the pots to try and baby them, and they weren't taken care of. So we brought them in to try and rescue them, and I think we may be rescuing them. So those are beach plums. And then we had the hazelnut starts they were split root from a big bush. Some of it, we lost about half of them, but we've got enough back there. I think we'll be all right. Mm-hmm. And then we had 4 cultivated, 2 types of cherries, a peach and a nectarine, which are commercial stock. And
Bill Rock has juniper berries.
we've got lots of self-planted cedar, as we call them here, but they are not like West Coast cedar.
They're eastern red cedar.
Yeah, and so it provides a small juniper berry, which is tasty. Collected and dried some and chew on one every once in a while.
You done?
What other trees we have? Well, we have the pecans that have been in for 3 years now, and they grew a little. They didn't do anything the first year. This will be going into the 3rd year. They put on some decent foliage and grew a little bit last year, and I think they definitely had set in and were happier. So we're looking for those to be starting to take off. If those set in, the cold hardy pecan should. They're a long-term tree. They'll get really big, and they'll bear for years if they're minimally taken care of. I have a gift certificate from my birthday for Oikos, which has
Oikos Tree Farm.
Focuses on cold hardy North American and Midwest cold hardened or good varieties of perennial and specialty trees and bushes and permaculture stuff. They have a national catalog, which is really nice stuff. They happen to be very close to our area. They do not have a retail store, but I have the opportunity to select, I guess, a few items possibly from them, and get those going.
Okay, Helix. I don't have room on my lap. Ouch!
Helix.
Like cat.
Go away.
Thinks I'm playing with them. Okay. Again, I can't have the chat that way. So I wanted to say Dalia was going to have apple trees and have grown other apple trees.
We want new apple trees.
Apple tree. We have 3 that are still alive.
We really
Maybe
need,
three and a half.
We really need to move them because they're just not happy
not
where they're
happy.
at. So we don't want to invest. We don't want to overinvest much time on them because they're just not ever going to be in the right spot right now.
Someone's a little fussy tonight. Sorry, guys. She's usually been falling asleep about this time this week. I mean, usually being the last week here.
Yeah, and you got the elderberry starts. Some, at least one or two of them are going.
Yep.
In the front, we have
Currants.
You have some currants, which are more of a bush or a vine. We have some pawpaws, at least one, but I think we have more than one going.
I only noticed one in the fall. I think we lost two.
It will need a companion.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Uh-oh, baby.
What did I get from Dan? Get something cool from Dan.
We're forgetting what we have now. Okay, you can chew on that.
What did I buy at the market? It was something cool that he had. I'm like, I want one of those. He does some starts and permaculture stuff.
Yeah, I have to think about that. But lots of different things. And Miranda's online. Hello. And the Mindful Home said, hello, hello. What we could do, while you're thinking about what you got, what else you got? You got other nuts?
No, I don't have.
We have
We have our black walnut, which was naturally here.
Yep.
Prior to us, it's large. It's 40 feet tall. It's not overly large, but it's large enough. And then we have a mulberry right on our property divide that's wild, and I'm not excited about mulberries greatly, but they're there. And I've kind of trimmed that back. Right now, they're clearing that side of the property somewhat. They're thinning it out for a new house. They are keeping a lot of the trees, and the owner's doing a lot of it. So they've had a bobcat back there a little bit, but they are not clear cutting and bulldozing. They're selectively clearing dead and dangerous material and stuff that they've got a family. They don't want the forest falling on them, and they're going to have to clear area to build a house that coming up here. So some of our forest line is going to be significantly thinned or removed on one side over the next year or two.
Unfortunately, that's kind of sad, but the neighbors are nice.
He's keeping a lot of it, so I don't think we're going to... Our biggest concern was a bulldozer was going to come in, and we were going to go from a protected forest area that has a lot of moisture, and it has some light control, but it has a lot of moisture and cooling.
And a lot of wind barrier from that side.
Yeah, and if you bulldoze the whole thing, it would significantly change our property and really the whole end of the block to some degree, and they could do that, it's their property, but if they're thinning and keeping some of the trees, it's going to go a long way. It's to actually maintain. They have a nice deep soil there, and we don't have soil in most of this farmland. It's very deep, so there's a lot of good benefits to that area. So it's got 40, 50 years growth there, I think.
Anyway, next topic. So the seeds were the one thing. We'll get some seeds ordered, and it doesn't look like we'll have to order huge numbers, but we definitely need a few staples like tomatoes and then whatever we want to play with this year. Somebody a little fussy. We have last night. I started talking about the why not. I didn't know if you wanted to go into any more on that.
It's a local fundraiser. We're a vendor. We're a purchase. We purchase a spot as a vendor.
That's where we were last night until
so we did that.
Yeah.
So that's a it's a charity event. I present food there. It's for.
And Bella's apparently telling you about her babysitter who was here last night, who she had fun with.
Yep. Bella had a babysitter till late in the evening, and so we did that and served a lot of food and sold a bunch of pasta.
Yep.
And sort of retooling and recovery and putting stuff away today. Had a trailer load of stuff go out. Few people there drank way too much. Most people did not. We were working, so we had a couple very small tastes of wine in the process of an evening, and we came home with no problems and no headaches, and everything was great. So we were there to do work. So but it was a nice event. It's just 1,500 people, maybe more there. It's a good sized crowd.
Decent crowd.
Yeah.
And I guess since I don't know how long Bella's going to last here, and it's already 9:34, we can open it up to food questions here. If you have any cooking questions for Mike, this way I might be able to. I could take Bella out of the room for a little bit.
Ground
cherries are like the Molly's ground cherries. We have some.
ground cherries can be put in annually.
Yeah.
Many times they do come back, especially depending on how harsh your winter may or may not be. They do really well, and they yield heavily first year, and then you can replant.
Yeah.
Currants are nice. Currants, once they set in, should be perennial. There are many types of currants. So you got the big black ones, which are great for making currant syrups and doing some desserts. They can be a little bit tannic and bitter. People ferment them. It's very common to make currant liqueurs, and you can drink them, but they're actually nicer. I think they're nicer to be used in a syrup or like in a pastry. But their currant jam, of course, is great. And then you can get red currants, and you can get yellow or a white currant. And so there's, and they tend to be less tannic. They're still a little bit tannic and quite sour, but they're really nice garnishes. Sometimes with cheese boards or doing all kinds of things, or cooking them into a little garnish for meat. So currants are a lot of fun. Favorite way to cook lamb? I like lamb. Roasting a whole leg or a boneless leg is always nice. I put a heavy rub of garlic and fresh or dried herbs and rub it down with a good amount of seasoning and tie it up tight, and pan roasting. It's really nice. You can also put it on a barbecue and smoke it. That's super tasty. The nice thing also is because you have the shank, and if you go long enough, the shank starts to break down and gets really kind of chewy, gooey, super yummy. And then as you come through the main portion on the leg, you can have some medium rare or even moving towards the rare in the middle. But if you're cutting it for a platter or for a bunch of people, that gives you the option of having plenty crispy, salty little bits in your medium well and your medium, and then if you want some medium rare or whatever, you can get all of that out of a leg, and pulling the bone out, you can slice right through it, and presents nice. So that's really good. Chops are good, but chops are super expensive. I like to get the T-bone chops, which come down beyond the rib chops. They're a little cheaper, and they're really good. They're little porterhouses or T-bones. Usually need to get 3 or 4 of them for a portion, and they need to be cut inch and a half to almost 2 inches thick, because there is a lot of bone. And if you like them more well done, the problem with all the bone is it shields heat, so you will have a little more pinking near the bone. But if you like a good sear on it, it'll protect the heat, and you can still get some nice pink on them. So those T-bone chops run cheaper. They're a little harder to eat because if you're at home, you can chew on the bone and pick them up. At a restaurant, you may not get quite all the meat off of them, but I think they're a lot of fun. They're just a little harder to handle than a lollipop or a rack. So yeah. There's space on the couch for pudding. Pudding does not get on the couch very often with me, or will jump off if I come and sit here. I did sit down briefly today with Pudding, and she hung out for a few minutes, but Pudding is not so friendly with me. She likes the ladies a little more, and does not like to share her couch. So she actually was pushing. Babysitter that we have come by was actually on the couch, and Pudding was sitting there, not real happy, but actually they coexisted better than I did this week. I was surprised. And she got off the couch, and this guy was sitting over there, and Pudding was here, and she stretched out and started pushing this little pillow over the side, and clearly was noting that she would like the couch back to herself. That was pretty interesting. I hadn't seen that before. So yeah. What else, food-wise? Lamb. What else is good on lamb? Whole roasted lamb is fine. Smoked roasted lamb, or curry lamb, or curry goat. I enjoy that. You gotta have a bunch of people. It's easier to do that in an environment for a party or a restaurant. And lamb stew. So a lot of times you get cross-cut the front shoulder. The shanks are great, but if you get cross-cut shoulder, the stew meat is significantly cheaper than your prime cuts, your chops, or even sometimes your hind leg. So lamb stews are amazing. You can make them with potatoes and onions and carrots. Very simple. You can either flour it or not, and thicken the gravy. Use chicken stock if you don't have anything else. So to flavor it, just use some chicken stock to build it up, and turnips. Really nice to put turnips or rutabagas, other root vegetable in there. Sometimes I'll put a little red wine or white wine, or even a little bit of a a Guinness or a porter, or like a darker beer. You put a little beer in there as part of the braising liquid, and yeah, it's good. Lamb stew is very underrated, I would say. Use the younger lambs under 2 years, because as they start getting a little stronger, and that's in our stores. That's about all we sell is young lamb. We really don't have a source of mutton unless you're going to a very specialty market. Like in New York, I could go into the Bronx, and there were some specialty meat places focused on whole or larger cuts, and so there'd be some North African communities and things that really were looking for mutton or a stronger flavored lamb, because that was tradition. But otherwise, you're not going to get strong lamb. The really expensive U.S. Colorado lamb that has chops that are like this big, is mostly grain fed or grain finished, and it's super mild. It's almost too mild. It almost tastes like beef. And then the Australian and New Zealand are also mild and tasty. I find the New Zealand, which are younger, smaller, and almost all grass fed, are a little more grassy and irony, which is in a good way. Yeah, commercial lamb right now is no longer that old, strong flavor that may be off-putting to a lot of people, and I don't mind a little bit of flavor, a good bit of flavor, but there's a point where it's gamey and not so good. So yeah. Considering livestock to raise, so we're trying different meats to see. Yeah, that's great. Don't buy anything if you're raising them for meat and not milk or companions or whatever. Make sure you like them, because you're gonna end up with a decent amount. You're gonna invest a lot of time, and you're gonna invest a good amount of money. Now, what we say with our chickens is we don't probably raise our chickens any cheaper than going and buying a moderate quality organic or natural chicken. But what we do is we get a pasture raised super premium chicken for not much more than you would buy in kind of an average-ish chicken, and we get a super great result. So I don't feel like, unless you're doing real heavy meat raising and really commercial and trying to cut costs, you're not going to save money, but you are going to get ultra premium, hopefully, flavor and quality. But depending on your land, and we don't do a lot of, we don't raise animals other than chickens. Mm-hmm. So that we're not the expert in that, but what I do know is you need to match your animals to your land, both your space and the type of things that grow and what you want to dedicate. And we're on sand, so if we put horses or cows or something big on our property, they would absolutely destroy it, and we wouldn't get that land back, other than the sand beach. So we'd have to be careful. But things like goats or sheep, which eat a wider variety of things and move around more and are just lighter in weight, would probably do just fine here. We've thought about putting a pig or two in the back area, and not happening this year. But if we give them enough area to forage them some, we can prevent making a total mess out of things, and it's fine. They lean things down and move things around, but without just having them exist in a dirt pen, which works for pigs, but we'd like them to kind of hang out and get a little more variety and not just fully a grain. And you got to feed them, supplement them for the most part, and they're going to go towards that supplemental feed, but hopefully they're rooting around and doing other things too.
By the way, I'm still in the room here. I'm just got a tired baby that I have to bounce around a little bit, so I'm walking around with her out of the picture.
Don't forget rabbits. Yeah.
Oh yeah, rabbits absolutely.
So goat and lamb and stuff. Tina's on the way out. Good night, Tina. Rabbits. We have not raised rabbits. We do trade rabbits with a friend. Get a few rabbits a year. And she does a backyard rabbit program, does a giant rabbit. We just had one last week. I think it might have been our last one. It came out really good.
It was.
I just...
What'd you do with that?
I pan-seared it. So what else did we serve with that? I had some beets, some golden beets and red beets. Just flour? No, I think I just pan-seared it. So I cut the legs off, pan-seared the back legs, pan-seared the saddles. I took the saddles, took the meat off the saddle a little bit. It's debatable. In restaurants, a lot of times they don't use the front legs. They just serve the loin, and then they serve the hind legs. Front legs are just fine. They just have less meat. So a lot of times people make a little sausage or stuff the hind leg or make some form of a farce or a little. And so they'll use some of that meat that isn't part of the main loin, and they'll use the front legs for that. But I think that so rabbit rises as fast or slightly faster than chicken. It is among the best conversion of feed to meat, and in a short period of time. And from what I understand from the rabbit raisers, there's 3 advantages to the rabbits. They're quiet. They don't smell if you treat them and give them a little bit of space. I actually have a fertilizer that isn't hot. You can use it right away. When you butcher them, it's quick and easy. You don't need any particular special tools, which is the same with chickens. However, you can pull the whole hide, the whole pelt off. It kind of slips off very easily versus having to pluck a chicken. And chicken has a very unique chicken smell. So when you're done butchering, it's not terribly off-putting, but it smells like chicken. And so you may not want to just go have roast chicken the next night. Maybe wait a day. The rabbits do not have that chickeny smell. However, chickens do eat a lot of bugs and eat a little more diverse things. So
I'm just going to ask you the questions as they come up since you're talking.
So rabbit may be a great option because of the confined spaces and a lot of the, they're easy to work with, and they're very mild. They're very lean. Actually, they're very much like chicken. In a white meat that's a low fat and a fairly low flavor profile. So they're actually very tasty.
Does lamb make good sausage? From Carrie.
Yes, lamb makes great sausage. It can be a little bit stronger, and sometimes it's low in fat. It's sort of like venison. You may want to cut some other fat into it. Like if you're not opposed.
Oh, that was from 13 Moons. Sorry.
Yeah, if you're not opposed to working with pork, you cut some pork in, pork fat in. However, you can get enough fat off of some lamb. You can also, there's lamb sausage eaten around the world. France has a phenomenal sausage I really like, merguez. Merguez is a thinner, skinny sausage because it's stuffed in a lamb casing, so it's like a breakfast sausage size usually. And it has spices and red wine, so you marinate the meat in some red wine, or you add some red wine to the sausage. And it can be fresh. You can also hang it and dry it some. And merguez is one of my favorite sausages. You can also do all kinds of herbs and spices and fresh grind and patties, so they don't have to be cased. You can do a bulk or pattied. If you have crumbled, just loose grind that isn't even seasoned, you can do things like a true shepherd's pie that instead of using ground beef, you're going to use ground lamb. And it's a little more robust. Sometimes ground beef in a shepherd's pie is kind of dull and boring, and so you up your flavor and some of your nutrition, I would say, using the ground lamb. There are a variety of other things, so look to North Africa, Spain, Italy, parts southern France, the Mediterranean, Greece. They eat lots of lamb because, again, they don't always grow a lot of cows, so they're too hard to grow in some areas, so they'll do lamb sausages. They are not so fatty and moist like a bratwurst and a pork sausage. You can make beef sausage too. Beef sausage also tends to be a little drier and denser. So yeah, I've never had goat sausage. I'm sure you can make goat sausage.
Yeah. Carrie says one of her dogs refuses to eat the rabbits.
Really?
Linda says if she ever tried rabbit, she could never tell her 30-year-old daughter who has them as pets.
Well, let me tell you the interesting thing with a rabbit. So you can buy them frozen in the store, and I do not.
And yes, we do have a family member like that. Yes. We have a family member who will not eat any chickens at all.
Not eat any of our chicken here unless we are certain, tell them it's a chicken breast we got at the store.
Yeah. Wouldn't eat our turkey if we had one. Yeah, she doesn't like the idea of meeting her food.
So if you buy a rabbit in the store, they're a little bit expensive, and they're super lean, and they're all grain fed, they're indoor fed and whatever, so they have almost no flavor. They can be tough because there's no fat on them. That's why having one hopping around at least a little bit, even if they're a pen and they're getting some more fresh greens and grasses. They will have more flavor and be a little more tender. But if you buy them in the store, or if you cut them up, they're about this size, and you take the back legs off, you take the front legs off. It doesn't look that much different than a chicken leg thigh. You don't get as big of a drumstick. The front legs are not wings, but they're not much bigger than wings. And then you have the loin, and it almost looks like chicken pieces. If you were to do it fried, and I could tell you could do a fried rabbit just like fried chicken, and it would be phenomenal. You can also do them in a light gravy or pan. You were talking about doing franchise or doing lemon sauces and picadas. Rabbit would be great for a picada.
And you have another person joining the room. A small Canadian beekeeper is in the room. Hello, hello. And 13 Moon says, do you think quail is worth raising? They're so tiny. And it seemed like a lot of extra work.
Quail has been on a surge around here. The Pratts have quail, so I would talk to the Pratts. They're liking it.
And Rose at Homestead.
So the eggs are small. They're fun because you can do hors d'oeuvres and stuff. They make little funny noises, and I guess they're quite comical characters. You can keep them indoors. In fact, they need to be kept protected or indoors. And they grow fast. They're pretty clean in the world of birds. And so, quail. I like quail, but they are very small. So quail eggs, you need about 10 quail eggs to equal a typical 3-egg omelet. So that's a lot. They do produce a lot of eggs. They taste just like chicken eggs. They're just really small. The meat itself is tasty, mild, and you need to eat about 2 quail for an entree, I would say. And so you can glove bone them, where you actually pull the small bones out minus the end of the leg bones and make it semi-boneless. And then with it all intact, and you can stuff it. So people will take one and stuff them with a cornbread stuffing or wild rice stuffing or different things. That's pretty nice. 1's a great appetizer. 2 is a pretty good entree. They are great on the barbecue. You split them open, you do a quick barbecue, serve them as an appetizer, or you have to make a whole ton of them if you're going to do them for an entree. But quail is tasty. Your yield, you need to figure out for the yield if it works for you. A lot of people with younger kids really like working with the quail because the kids can work with them easily. They're fun. You don't have as much issues with the E. coli and salmonella with non-chicken items and non-turkey. You can also eat them, typically you can eat them somewhat undercooked towards the medium rare side, especially if you brine them a little bit. So we've done honey brines and cinnamon brines and smoked them, and so you can so it does work with the kids. I guess they get a little attached probably, but not so. They're small enough, it's not as big of a deal. It's not like a rabbit, so they're more likely to hit the plate.
And you don't have a big rooster attacking you.
Yeah, they're all just little funny guys. So it may be a good deal for sure, especially with small space constraints.
Yeah, and hi, that 1870s Homestead. I'm off the screen with the baby, sorry. And Jerome Bee Farm and Homestead are also here. Hello. So a couple new people. I have a question for everybody. What are your next animals that you'd like to try? I know we have a couple on our list that we won't be getting to this year.
Try to grow, not necessarily try to eat. Well, I guess you
could
tell us what
try
you want
to
to try
eat
and
too,
eat.
But which ones would you like to grow on your property, and which ones are on your short list, basically, for seeing if you can raise? We have, I think, 2 things on our short list. Jerome Bee Farm says they'd like to try goats for brush control, but don't have any fencing, so that would be goats.
Kiri and others can probably talk about that. The 2 goat farmers that I'm with regularly at market, they're funny, they're crazy, they'll drive you nuts, they'll do the stupidest things. 1870 says goats. They only got into goats in the last 2 years, so they started out without a fence that was working real well, and then they had to keep them in a pen, and then they went to, I think, an electrified fence, and they had a little bit of challenges getting used to that. I don't know where they're at on it now, but yeah, they're really good to talk about new goat owners and the challenges of converting to dealing with goats.
White Picket Fence says they're getting a new puppy on Thursday. Does that count? I'd say that counts.
Yeah, just don't eat it.
No, as pets, yes.
Yeah, we like them as pets. Premier
13
would be like
moons.
Premier one fence for, yeah.
Yeah, 13 moons says they're starting with chickens, then ducks and turkeys, and probably quail after that. Carrie says they have want quail, but need to get rid of the rabbits first, having trouble selling them.
So you can turn your rabbit hutch easily into a protective area for quail, from what I'm understanding. Yeah. And you can get a pretty good density of quail in an area. One thing we learned about duck, we have not raised duck. We know lots of people, they love them, they're fun, they're loud, they're messy, they need water. If you don't have a open water source, you need to change that water very regularly. Although Pratts have a barrel, they have a soaker barrel that allows them to get their beak in and clean it out, and it has an overflow so they can try and maintain it. I think more in the winter. It doesn't allow them to swim, but they can get plenty of water, and that prevents as much mess because they can straw or handle the mess.
And they have parts of their property that flood in the spring and stuff, so they do have places they can go swim.
The other thing we learned when we were helping for the first time clean ducks with the Mosiers is we tried the wax technique, which worked pretty effectively, but took a lot of paraffin or wax. There's a special wax, it's a blend that kind of sets on the feathers and helps you rip it off. You can reuse it a little bit, but it's a little bit hard to reclaim a lot of it. And we were going through a lot. We weren't sure if we were doing it all quite right because it seemed like we went through a lot of paraffin, which adds to the cost. But plucking them can be very difficult. And what I learned that I had no idea was they kind of molt at different phases. They get their first feathers and their second feathers. And so if you catch them at the right time when they're kind of moving through the right phase, they will defeather much easier, which probably explains why you have like spring ducklings, which are really small, and then you have the little bit larger ducks, which are the two commercial ones.
I think it was like at 6 weeks and then at
12
or 14 weeks.
Yeah, something. 12 or 14. So that it totally explains, I think, why commercial ducks are kind of at two different size points, and it never occurred to me. So be aware of when you want to take them and get them on your calendar because they'll get very hard. It was still quite a bit of work. I think duck eats great, so it's kind of worth it. But
a lot of work.
Goose is the same thing. Goose is just about 2 or 3 times the size. They will grow longer. We did one goose. We didn't have much of a problem feathering it, but it was more work. And it's hard to get people, if you want to send them out for commercial processing, it is hard to find people that are set up to do ducks. There were a couple people around here, but then some of the heritage ducks, not the traditional meat ones, they had a hard time getting the feathers, and they got somebody to do it, and she was like, totally undercharged you. It took all day. It was terrible. I mean, this is somebody that was Amish or Mennonite who does some of this at least as a side job for some cash, and was like, that was terrible. So be aware on handling the ducks, but and getting the feathers off.
Linda Taylor says the practical answer for them is turkey, but the dream answer would be goats.
Turkeys grow. I mean, they grow all season. You take them at the end of the year. Turkeys.
We have a friend who does turkeys down the road.
And I work with a farm that did a lot of turkeys, and they are much more particular. You got to protect them from the elements, from the early spring, from the high heat. You got to make sure they have water. You got to make sure they don't get drowned or hailed on. They had hail and killed a bunch of them or hurt them. They're super, super dumb. Foxes or whatever can really clean up. So the death rate on turkeys can end up on a bad year being much higher than chickens. And chickens aren't real sharp, but they are a little more defensive. But the yield on a turkey is, and if you don't watch out, you're gonna put a 30-pound turkey. You can get a ton of meat off of them, and it can be the little pasturing. It can be really tasty. So I think that's a good. And they're messy, but yeah, turkey's totally an option, or blending it with chicken.
That 1870s homestead says next for them is rabbits, but they want to try some before jumping in. You should buy the rabbits from Curie at Built on the Rock Homestead.
A little bit of a travel.
A little bit of a distance,
from
though.
Texas to
Michigan.
back over to Michigan. Well, there's a really good rabbit guy who from Michigan on that side of the state that went to Homesteaders of America and taught classes a couple of times. I always forget their name, but they as a family raise rabbits. I think they may sell some of the hides, the pelts, and maybe some of the meat. It's there is some economic portions, but their whole family's involved in it as a backyard homestead. And then he teaches it, and I think they have a channel.
Do you ever get to cook game birds like grouse?
I have never had the opportunity to cook grouse. I would love to. I have cooked pheasant, I think 3 times, but I believe they were always domestic or game. They were
people raised them.
Yeah, they were controlled. I have cooked capon once or twice. I have cooked, which is a castrated male. So all they like to do is eat and sleep and drink beer.
Chicken.
Chicken, yes.
Yes.
They don't drink beer, but they're basically fat and lazy and just sit around. They have no incentive to do anything, but they'll eat all night. And they get really big and fat, and they're super expensive and preferred in France, and they're hard to find here. So I've cooked capon once. I've cooked a goose a few times, like 3 times or 4 times, and quail quite a bit. I've done guinea fowl 3 or 4 times also.
Oh, people raise them too.
Yeah, guinea are goofballs, but everybody says they make this weird. They're loud.
Yeah.
They're loud in the morning. They're loud at night. They're loud all day at times, is my understanding. They roost in the trees, which is somewhat protective, but you may need to screen them in, so they can't escape. They will also go all over the place, and so if you don't have a decent property, they'll be out on the road. They'll be in the neighbors. They kind of do their own thing. They're goofy. They do have a good meat. It's a preferred Italian, traditional old-time Italians love the guinea fowl, and it's the between of a domestic and a game bird, and of course they do eat lots of bugs. People say they eat tons of ticks. They do potentially. They just eat tons of bugs. They are very much forage driven, so I don't believe you really have to put out a lot of feed for them much of the time because they're really just out doing whatever. So you may lose a lot. They disappear, or foxes or coyotes or dogs or whatever. But guinea's something to throw a few in the mix and see what happens.
Yeah, the roads had them when we were over there.
Pigeon. Pigeon's another one.
Have you done pigeon?
I have cooked pigeon a number of times. Pigeon in French, or here we tend to call them squab when they're domestic. They are not your city pigeon. Those are kind of nasty, right? It's a cultivated meat pigeon. They're big, they're meaty. A grain-fed domestic pigeon is a little bigger than a little smaller than a Cornish hen, a commercial Cornish hen. It's a perfect one whole. So quail, you need 2 or 3. A squab is like perfect for one person, and tends to be mild meat, not that different from chicken. It's just a nice size. So
13 Moon said that they had a wild grouse fly into the window last week. Didn't know then how to process it, but know now. So haven't hunted them
get the feathers off, skin on. It's probably nice if you can blanch and do it, but you can always take the skin off to do it faster. Get the guts out, obviously no different than any other bird. Clean them up, and I'd give it a day or 2 to relax. Although poultry doesn't need long, just to refrigerate and let it kind of chill out or brine it. And then, you can roast it, pan fry it, stuff it, whatever. But I've never had a wild duck, like a hunted duck or goose. I have never had a wild turkey, a grouse. I don't have a hunting family background. I'm really interested in all that stuff. I just haven't had exposure. But I would love to cook or eat any of those. So venison's, I guess, what I've mostly had that's wild that is gifted or otherwise. I've had elk.
Velt on the Rock said they have 3 guinea males. They attack her chickens, and these guys sleep in the chicken coops.
Oh, really? And then they attack the chickens.
Oh, boy.
Well, and there's also, you could do emu, and then you could move up out of poultry and you can go to alpaca or llama, which they're cute and everybody likes them, so it's kind of hard to eat. There are ones that are smaller, more used for eating, but that alpaca is actually in parts of the country is a good eating animal, believe it or not. But it's awfully hard because they're so goofy and they live a long time. They may not be
13
raised for meat.
13 Moon said, in response to the cleaning the grouse, she said, you can stand on the wings and pull the legs. It cleans it right out and skins it.
Okay.
Then
Yep.
you just have to cut the legs when you want.
Interesting.
Where you want. If you want.
So that's your classic easiest way. So you're not doing any blanching and feathering. You're
That's
just
for grouse and pheasant both.
Really.
So
when I typically got a pheasant, I paid a ton for a pheasant in New York. And what we typically want to do is take all the bones out, so they're semi-boneless, so that glove boning where you notch around the rib cage and the first bones on, so you're just left with like the arm and the leg, the ends. And I take all that out, and you leave all the skin on, and then you stuff it, and you tie it up, and you roast it, or you grind it and put a force meat or a sausage, poultry sausage, in it. And sometimes you just take the skin off, and you notch all the way around the skin, or you blow air into it, and you remove the skin as one piece, and then you refill the skin as one piece with itself. So those are galantines and ballantines. And those are technical things that are done in classical cooking. At this point, the labor and the skill is too intensive generally to afford to be able to do them anywhere. But there are some specialty restaurants and showpieces will do it. So if you want to get excited about working with your own stuff, going semi-boneless, look up galantine and ballantine as things to do, especially with poultry, and using that skin. So, but yeah, wild birds, a lot of times getting the feathers, getting the skin removed, getting to the meat is maybe the best thing to do.
Carrie says that there are emus not that far from her.
Yeah, emu, yeah, got a lot in Michigan.
Jerome Bee Farm in Homestead said the alpacas are cool. I think it costs a lot to get started with them though.
So what I've been hearing, and we don't have them, so alpacas got really big a number of years ago. There are a lot of people in Michigan that got involved because it's going to be the new fiber, the new wool. It's going to be a super high value, high quality fiber, which it is. However, a lot of that never really took off into enough commercial production. So the bottom fell out on that. So people were getting breeding, especially male breeders, paying huge amounts of money up until a number of years ago and trying to get all these, the right coats and all these things. And the market just dropped out. So people are giving away their animals because they cannot afford to feed them, or they had the new greatest entrepreneurial, emu farm or alpaca farm, and they got a whole bunch, and then there's no market in it. So they are giving the things away, which is fine. But if you're willing to foot the bill for feeding them, especially if it's pet and they're going to be there for a long time, and going through the shear, doing your own stuff, I understand there's people out there ready to give them to you, but they were really, really expensive. And of course,
emus are entertaining. They have Linda was wondering if people have them for their eggs or why they have them, or if they're just pets. The emu.
I don't think they're very nice. I think.
I don't know. I haven't. I don't know anyone personally with it. I have seen. White House on the Hill has some emus that they were raising that were hilarious as babies, but I haven't actually watched them.
I thought they chased people around and things, but
they definitely run around.
Yeah, the eggs are definitely usable. They're really big, but I mean, you can make a hole. But the eggs are definitely usable. The meat is lean, pretty lean, and it's dark. Ostrich and emu, it's dark red. It's high protein, and it's considered like very healthy, like eating buffalo, eating other things. I'm actually working with some domestic buffalo for a project coming up this week. As one of my components, and we'll talk more about that after. It's a kind of a secret feature dinner item, so I can't talk about the details, but it is a red meat
after
feature.
It happens.
So we're gonna have some buffalo as part of that for this restaurant. But yes, the meat is ground, and in some specialty places you can find emu burgers because it's super lean. Emu steaks, which I have had, they eat like red meat, and they are good. So if you can deal with having a big bird that you're gonna, planning to move towards meat, and dealing with whatever it takes to raise them, I don't know. Yes, it is a good protein source.
Carrie also said that emu oil was big a few decades ago. 13 Moons just said alpaca breeders don't make money on the fiber. From what she understands, they make money on showing them and breeding
Showing and braiding, yeah. And then they suck
Fiber
you
is-
into buying the things and then feeding them forever.
Fiber is fantastic, but it's not useful for a lot of stuff. More of a luxury.
And they thought, yeah, and because it is used through Peru and Bolivia and it's a primary, they thought that was going to be the new sustainable fiber, and the industry to utilize it properly. I mean, there's all kinds of gloves and sweaters. I work with a lot of Peruvians and
It's a little hard to spin.
Ecuadorians, and they had all kinds of clothing. They're super, super warm, great stuff.
Yeah.
It's when you're up in the mountain areas and stuff. So, but we don't have. We have a woman who does alpaca socks, and they're expensive. We got everybody, my parents and Cindy and other people for Christmas last year, and so they're really good. But we don't have the larger marketplace to just sell the fiber. So if you like, she has her fibers spun into socks, and she's having a really hard time finding people that will handle making a high quality socks. Most of the companies in the U.S. have closed, even the specialty companies. So they raise them. They do whatever they do with their whole farming program. They send out the fiber to make socks, and then they sell them at the market, and they do get some recovery or make some money doing that. And she sells out very quick. She's super popular. Yeah. She usually sells into Christmas. Usually she's sold out before Christmas or like a week or so after Christmas. She's done. And then we might see her in the fall when the new batches come in. And so she only sells market, a portion of the year.
Carrie, do you have any Angora goats? She says that mohair is big there, and that's from the Angora goats for the goat fur.
Didn't Frank Zappa have mohair sweaters and talk about Angora and some of his sons in the 70s? You guys a lot.
I don't know.
70s and early 80s.
Yeah, 13 Moons is considering Angora goats for fiber. Says the fiber arts is her business.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's cool.
Angora is popular in Italy, and really nice stuff coming out of Italy sometimes. Of course, they have the merino wool also. Yeah,
that's mohair.
Yeah, the mohair. Yeah.
Mohair lace weight yarn makes gorgeous shawls. Oh yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
But yeah, so unless there's any other cooking questions, we have a good 17 people in the room.
So that's that's neat. Talking about the use of animals again. That's really moving a little beyond our territory. Once they're out of pasture, I'm pretty good with them. In pasture, we have a learning curve. That's not everybody else has to fill in.
Did we even mention what our 2 short list things are that we'd like?
No. I guess
number 1 would be. I don't know. It keeps switching back and forth.
It's either bees or hogs.
Yep.
They both have an upfront investment. Bees probably have a bigger investment. There's somewhat of equipment and learning curve, but we have friends in the area. But you only have to handle them occasionally, so they're going to take care of themselves for much of the time. Hogs probably have not as much investment. Because you got, even on pasture, you can run a hotline or even poultry fence.
Simple housing.
Yeah,
you just do one season.
Simple shelter. They're usually 6 months ish. So you run them in the good weather, and by fall, after you get some good apples and nuts, it's getting cold. Move them out so you don't have to deal with the biggest problem is moving water around in the winter, which is annoying. And you got to feed them more to keep weight on them. So. We haven't worked with them a lot, but our understanding is very much like many ways dogs, and social and keep them fed and make sure they don't escape. But so but that's daily time. That's morning, night, checking on them, making sure they're fed, making sure that the coyotes aren't. I don't know if coyotes threaten. I'm sure the small pigs they would.
I would think so, but
making sure the coyotes are fended off and.
So we do have a bunch of coyotes that have been coming fairly close.
We had coyotes this week.
Yeah.
Definitely they were.
He was outside closing coops.
I'm hearing.
Or you were doing something else outside.
I was moving around equipment at night, getting stuff in my truck, and they were right in our backwoods. I was like, well, if I hear them any closer, I think I will quickly move to our fenced in and back home.
Yeah.
I had the vehicle on and the lights were on because I was loading up a trailer.
And the lights facing back towards the woods where they were.
They were yipping and hollering right on the backwoods, and we got a lot of rabbits back there and other things.
Yeah, there's plenty of food for them.
So they were really going at it, and I was like, wow, I haven't heard them for a while like that.
Yeah, well, we usually have our windows closed in the winter, so we don't hear them as well from the inside anyway.
But that was, I'm guessing that was 3 or 4 at a minimum.
Yeah.
It was not 1.
Yeah. Carrie said that her local feed store sells mohair socks.
Okay.
And there's another one.
I gotta go to the feed store tomorrow.
Yeah. There's another store not that far away that sells mohair clothing. A few years ago during the lunar eclipse, heard the coyotes howling. It was spooky. Ours
They are
yip
a little
more.
freaky.
Yeah, ours
They yip, and then they kind of whine and they howl a little bit, and they're freaky.
They're.
I really wouldn't love. You're fire and you're camping. They're probably gonna leave you alone unless they're really nuts. But I would not feel extremely excited to be sitting in a tent with them close.
The funny thing is, I grew up in the woods on the east side of the state, and I know the east side of the state has coyotes as well, but I don't remember any large predators growing up.
We did Boy Scouts and other thing, for a while. I don't ever remember coyotes being in talk. There's no wolves. There's no bears.
There's no.
There really
wildcats.
There really wasn't any major predatory animal that was of any concern.
The biggest one would be a fox when we're growing up.
No, they're not.
And they're not.
The biggest concern is a skunk in your campsite, probably.
Camping wise, we didn't have livestock growing up, so we wouldn't have had to worry about raccoons and possums getting chickens.
There is substantial rumor there is a large cat that's been in this area for years. There's been quite a number of sightings. Our neighbor who grew up in the area, I asked him about it. I said, "Yeah, everybody talks." He goes, "Yeah, everybody. There's a lot of discussion that there's probably a couple cats."
Yeah, not that far away. Hopefully they stay away from here.
We've never had any evidence. We had a possum on our frozen little pool last night. I saw possum prints.
And we know we've had possum take out silkies before.
Right in the front of the silkie.
Was it Gus's pool?
Yeah, it was Gus's pool.
Oh gosh.
But they're locked in. But there happened to walk, and it had a few footprints. We had a very light, inch of soft powdery snow last night, and it just came in and out for a little bit. And I happened to see that it went up on this frozen pool, and there were little prints all across the top.
Almost handprints.
Handprints, yeah.
Linda says the coyotes set off every night by the 9:30 train, and then the Chihuahuas join in. The neighborhood Chihuahuas.
Our Saint Bernard would.
Oh, they're Chihuahuas.
Pudding doesn't join in, but
yeah, our Saint Bernard that we had.
He was as scary as they were.
He passed before we started our channel, but he would howl as soon as he heard the coyotes, and then we had a previous
and
day.
He would just moan and high howl, extended howl, like wolf howl.
Long
we never heard anything come out of his mouth like that, except for the siren.
He learned from mimicking the Indian Point sirens.
We had a nuclear siren test that was a 3-minute prolonged alarm that was high, and he would mimic that, and then happened to be good training for the coyotes.
Apparently.
But the coyotes, Pudding's not so bad.
No.
He did not like the coyotes.
No.
He was very unhappy when he heard the coyotes, which was fine with us.
Yeah.
In fact, in the summer, we'd open the windows and we'd be like, "Boomer, go outside," in the yard. Go on, howl at the coyotes, and the coyotes would take off.
Yeah, they would. He would scare them away. And then our other previous Dane would join him as well in harmony. That was hilarious, but we've probably talked about that before.
Yes.
Carrie says a few years ago they had a mountain lion killed one of her goats and injured her daughter. Oh, that's sad.
Daughter, wow.
No, I'm guessing the daughter of the goat.
Oh, okay.
I'm hoping not a person.
That's a little better.
Yeah. That's how I read it anyway. I'm hoping
that
the daughter
would be
of the
scary.
goat.
Dramatic.
But that's still horrible.
Yeah.
So 13 Moons has to go, so they're saying good night. I think we probably should get going here as well because it is now 10:20. I do have to work tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I got lots of stuff to do tomorrow.
So, but we had fun tonight. I do apologize for not being on the computer.
We are not here next week.
Oh, yeah.
I have
Yeah.
a major guest chef dinner that I am presenting.
Shoot. You know what we're going to have to do two of in March? Because next week is last week of this month. You
No,
guys.
it's not. Oh no,
No, it's the last
Sunday will be
Sunday
the
of the
first. Sunday will
month.
be the first.
The last Sunday of the month.
Yeah.
So, guess what that means for March, you guys? Because have only been live twice this month, and we did not do a giveaway. We'll have to do 2 giveaways in March.
Giving away coyotes.
No, I don't think.
Coyote pups for the spring. That's our newest addition.
I don't think anybody wants coyotes
Yeah.
on their homestead.
No.
But yeah, and Carrie did say it was the goat daughter.
Okay, that's better.
But that's too funny. Not funny, but it's not a person anyway. So yeah, we'll be back. We won't be here next weekend unless I do some random pop-up time during the.
I'm at an event all afternoon,
Yeah.
getting ready, and into the evening. Cindy's joining us towards the end.
Yeah, it's
Which would be just heading into the live show.
yeah, it would be.
She's probably getting over there about 8:00 at night. We will be in the middle of the dinner at 9:00.
Yeah, I don't
And the
think it'll
dinner will
work.
run till like 10:30. So
Yeah.
we will be right in the middle of an 8 or 9 course dinner activity.
Yeah, so this is the same
We'll
thing.
maybe shoot some pictures.
Yeah, we'll probably post to Instagram some things. Maybe
You can
get
do a few
some.
live Instagram or like just some. Yeah, you can maybe run a feed.
Yeah, I can
Or
do that
like
on YouTube.
run a story. Just
You
still
could do a
shot
story. There you go.
Not live.
Yeah, I think the live would be too hard with all those people around.
It's a private event.
Yes, it is.
It's not appropriate.
But we were invited. I was invited to do a video of it last year, so we do have the video of it. It's the All-Star Chefs. Mike's been invited back again to do one of the courses, and they do a sold out dinner to public that's waitlisted to sell out. So 8 chefs from 8
About
restaurants.
150 people.
150 people that they do this chef's choice tasting.
Chef's
basically.
night. We
Yeah.
get a lot of freedom in what we do, and
They get to play.
do exciting things, push the envelope, cook hard.
Yep.
Get fancy.
And then afterwards, all their assistants replate everything for the chefs and the guests. So that is the private meal of the night. Which last year we got the behind the scenes of that a little bit. So if you're interested in looking at what goes into all of that,
So
go ahead and watch that.
We're fairly unrestricted we're given courses by proteins.
Mm-hmm.
So I am on the red meat this year, and of course there'll be pasta integrated
Of course, yes.
at their request.
Yep.
I would do a non-pasta if they wanted it, but we're pasta is part of it. It's a portion.
Yep.
But we're gonna do so I'm doing the red meat, which is cool. I've done poultry, I've done pork. I'm doing red meat now, so it's my third time doing it. So that's pretty cool.
So yeah, we should definitely say goodnight so we could get on to this next week with a fresh start. But we won't see you next week, but keep your eye on our Instagram channel if you want to see what's going on at that dinner. And then we will see you back again the following week. So I guess March 1st will be the next time we're live. So, and here comes Bella's goose.
Bella's goose.
From Grandma, who gave her a goose and 2 chickens of her own. So, yep, we will see you guys next time. Have a good night, everybody. And 2 weeks from tonight. We won't see you next week.
Good night.
Good night.